Alright guys, hello and welcome back to the Nation of Aviation. And we're back in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and today I thought I'd bring you a different video series. I've been thinking of doing this for quite a bit. I'm going to be bringing more of a flight school kind of video series, and basically what a PPL student, a private pilot, would go through, covering each lesson as much as I can through the magic of YouTube. And we might tailor some of it towards flight simming in general, and because some things are easier to do in real life to teach one-on-one than it is on a video, but I'll try my best to do almost everything. And today we're starting with attitudes and movements, so we're going to be starting with that. A bit about myself before that though. Graduated with an ATPL, frozen ATPL, so I have my private, commercial, multi-IFR, and I wrote the ATPL exams. And just going to unlock them with hours, and hopefully COVID goes away so we can start flying planes again. So thank you, and please enjoy the video. For today, we'll be covering attitudes and movements, which is roughly your first flight after your familiarization flight that you go up with your instructor, kind of get you familiar with the airplane. After your intro flight, your next lesson, if you continue flight training, is attitudes and movements. So we'll continue that on today. What we're going to be covering is we're going to familiarize you with aircraft attitudes, the necessary control movements to achieve different attitudes, and what is yaw, how do we control it. We'll cover briefly on aircraft axes. This is more of a flight test exam question, so we won't cover too much on flight sim, but we'll briefly touch on it. And then some safety aspects if you're doing this in real life. All right, we're going to start with why do you want to learn this. A lot of people think attitudes and movements are just, easy lesson, whatever. But they're actually very important because once you get later in your career, they're pretty much the basics that you always can fall back to. So why we want to learn it is we want to recognize undesired and desired aircraft attitudes. So maybe an attitude your airplane does not want to be in. It's good to recognize that. It's good for passenger comfort, and it's a foundation for, as I said, the rest of your flying career. So be using it. Before we go any further, I will say this training has been done with accordance with the flight training manual, and also CESA 172 R/SPOH. Later in the videos, once we start going more in depth with it, POH is a pilot operating handbook. So for the flight training manual, it is available for purchase online, but I think there is an online one you can just find. Pretty sure flight training manuals. You just got to type that in. It's a nice purple book, and it'll lay out all the exercises and steps. Attitudes and movements is exercise 5. All right, so let's talk about some attitudes that we have here. First one we'll talk about is cruise attitude, which we're in right now. Okay, from cruise you have nose high, you have nose low, and you have banked attitude. We're going to talk about each one individually. I'm just going to show you real quick. Okay, so each attitude is referencing the attitude with the horizon line. So it's our imaginary straight line, obviously because the Earth is curved, but because we only can see so far, it's our imaginary straight line on the horizon. So right now, back in the cruise attitude, you'll notice that we have 1/3 ground and 2/3 sky. So there's more sky than ground. There's 1/3 ground, 2/3 sky. Okay, so that's our cruise attitude reference to the horizon. 2/3 sky, 1/3 ground. Next, moving on from that, we'll talk about the nose high, nose low. So we'll go nose high first. Okay, let's talk about nose high. So right now we're nose high attitude. As you can see, it's mostly sky out the window. It's just sliver horizon off the left side here. So this is what a nose high looks like out the window. And you can notice on the left sides of the windows, you can see your wing is at an angle to the horizon. And that's how you know we're also in a nose up.
Auto shutdown initiated.
What?
Auto shutdown cancelled.
Oh. That was interesting. I heard a auto shutdown initiated. I think that was my headset doing some weird stuff. Anyways, yeah, nose high attitude. And some things from the instruments. We won't spend too much time on instruments because we are VFR pilots, but something on the instrument, what you'll notice, starting with the attitude indicator, you'll notice that the attitude indicator is slightly above our white horizon line, this white line, and the orange is what our plane's doing. So it's slightly above that. On the airspeed, you'll notice wherever you were earlier, the airspeed will start to decrease because we're going up against gravity. And I can show you an outside picture of what this looks like. So there's the horizon roughly there. You can see we're nose up, tilted to the horizon. So airspeed will start to decrease. Our altimeter will start to climb. So the needle here, this is thousands, hundreds, tens, this little one here. So our hundreds needle will start to climb up the scale, and eventually the 1,000 as well. And our vertical speed is going to be showing a positive, hopefully positive climb indication, nose up attitude. So you can see we have 500, 600, 700 feet per minute roughly of positive, so up. Heading should stay the same. You shouldn't change any of anything in your heading. And the last thing is your turn coordinator. So I'm not really doing the best of job here. You can see the turn coordinator there. Basically, the main part of this is you want to make sure your wings are level, and you got your ball in the center. So if your ball is not in the center, you're uncoordinated, which means you're most likely presenting more drag to the aircraft than necessary. So the term we use for the ball is step on the ball. So if the ball is on the right hand side of this gauge, of these goalposts, I'll slightly just put a little bit of pressure on the right rudder, and you'll notice a little bit of right rudder, just gradually putting it in, you'll center it up. Okay, and we'll talk about why in a climb and adding power, decreasing power later on, of why that affects your turn coordinator and your yaw. Okay, so now we'll go to a nose down attitude, and real quickly I want to show you what happens to these needles really quickly so you can see what happens. So I'll unpause. You'll notice the altitude's getting bigger, so we're at 2,600 feet. The needle's between the 2 and 3, so 2,600. Kind of looks like a clock a little bit. Alright, so let's go to a nose down attitude. I'll cut to that. Alright, so there's the nose down attitude. And as you can see, it's about almost 50-50, if I didn't zoom in too much, but kind of half sky, half ground. I could probably afford to go a little bit more down, nose down, to be at the very maximum. About there. And pause. You can see that our airspeed is rising in the nose down, because now we're going down with gravity. And I thought I paused it, but apparently that doesn't work. It'll reference outside the window here. Our wing is pointed downwards towards the horizon line, so at an inward angle towards it. Okay, things with the gauges from last time, you'll notice the attitude indicator will be below the horizon line. Our altitude will be decreasing this way. Vertical speed showing a downward trend of about 800 feet per minute. This is per minute, right on the thing, so 100 feet per minute, so each tick is 100. Heading again shouldn't change. I only turned because I wanted to give you a ground reference for the horizon other than water and sun. Again, our turn coordinator is centered, and that's pretty much it for that. So we'll move on to a banked attitude. 3 general banked attitudes, and three levels of it. We have gentle, medium, and steep. Okay, so gentle is 0 to 15 degrees, medium is 15 to 30 degrees, and then steep is 30 plus. Luckily, Cessna's gone ahead, and whoever made the gauge, actually, probably not Cessna, has put in the tick marks for each degree. So you'll have 10 degrees here, 20 degrees, 30 degrees, 45 is in here, and then 60, 90 degrees. We never go to 60 or 90. Our max, once we go further into steep turns, are on, usually we hold 45. 60 would be a fail on a flight test. Even though if you do it right or properly, you still can't go that far on a flight test. But so for a gentle turn, it's 0, which we're on right now. This is wings level. 0 to, there's 10, so 0 to 15. Medium is 15 to 30, so 15 here to 30. And then from 30 onwards, it's steep. Okay, so I'll show you a gentle, medium, and steep turn. Unpause. So this is going to the maximum of the gentle turn. Okay, so just pretty much in between the 10 and 20 degree line of 15. That's how it looks. So you're just going to be, the horizon's getting cut by your nose, you can think of it as, outside. That's what that looks like. Okay, so that's your 15 degrees. I'll go to 30. Okay, there's 30. So much more angled to the horizon. And that's the maximum of our medium turn. Now, one thing I want to notice real quick, or want to mention, is during these pauses, the heading shouldn't be turning, but I think it's a weird active pause glitch with the sim right now, so don't worry about the heading indicator. It would be turning, obviously, as we're in the turn, but we're paused, so it shouldn't be doing anything. Don't worry about that, just look outside. So that's 30 degrees, and we'll do one more to 45. And there's 45. That's what 45 looks like. Pretty steep, and we ever really use steep turns mainly for collision avoidance for the most part. It's not really during our normal flights at all. Okay, we'll go back to establish that cruise attitude, which we have a cloud there, but that's fine. Clouds happen. So 2/3 sky, 1/3 ground. So those are our 4 attitudes. So nose high, nose low, banked, and cruise. Okay, all reference to the horizon. Moving on from that, we'll talk a little bit about aircraft axes, and we'll just be very brief on this. So let me go up and throw up a paint, 3D paint, and I'll be right back. Alright guys, so we're now in Paint 3D, excuse my bad drawings. Went ahead and draw in the first axis. So we have 3 axes here. We have longitudinal, lateral, and then the normal and or the vertical. They're referred to as both. I like calling it the vertical axis. Okay, so the longitudinal axis runs from the nose, you can think of, to the tail of the airplane, and it rotates along that axis. So I'll show you that in the sim, but longitudinal, if you're rotating on the longitudinal axis, it's the rolling motion of the aircraft. Okay, I'll draw the other line here. So this is going to be the lateral axis of the airplane. And let me change that to green to match the words there. So lateral axis, wingtip to wingtip you can think of. And if you rotate along this axis, you control the pitch of the aircraft. Or that's you're rotating along the lateral axis is the pitch. So pitch acts on the lateral axis, I should say. The last one is the vertical, which runs pretty much straight through the airplane there. They should all actually be meeting at the same spot, but my drawings aren't that good. But this gets the point across. And if you rotate along the vertical axis, you have yaw. So yaw acts on that axis. So for lateral axis, if you rotate along that, it's pitch. And to achieve pitch, it's the elevators, which I'll show you in the sim of where those are located. But they're on the tail right here. So you have your vertical stabilizer, horizontal stabilizer, and just on the horizontal stabilizer at the back, there's the elevators. And I'll show you that in the sim. Longitudinal axis, you have the rolling moment. You're rotating along the longitudinal, it's roll. So that's caused, and you can roll the aircraft with the ailerons, which are on just on the other side, the trailing edge of the wingtips, and I'll show you that in the sim as well when I have a 3D or panoramic version I can slew around. And the last one, the yaw is controlled with the rudder, which is on the vertical stabilizer at the back. So we'll jump back into the sim. Alright, so back in the sim now. See if it lets me move. Ooh, it does let me move in and pause. That's good. Alright, so back in the sim, we'll do the longitudinal axis that I said first. So if longitudinal runs from the nose to the tail, and you roll along the longitudinal axis. So that's controlled by ailerons. The ailerons are on the wingtips here. So that would initiate a left turn. So if you think about it, see how the ailerons are moving on each side here? So if I roll left, and you'll see inside, so inside, yep, see the control column is to the left. What this does is as air is flowing over the wing, right, it hits this surface that's canted upwards, puts more weight on this wing, and it'll drop the wing to the left. You'll notice that when I roll left, the left aileron, so if I put my yoke to the left, and I'll show you inside, yoke to the left, left aileron goes up, you see that, and the right aileron goes down to assist with the left turn in that. Okay, so now if you want to pitch along the lateral axis, lateral runs this way, and as you can see, it's kind of hard because the camera moves, but pitch would actually act on the lateral. It's kind of to show in there, and that's controlled with your elevators. Don't like that the view moves when I move in pause, but there's the elevators full up, elevators full down, and the way I'm doing that is with the yoke inside, so our control column, so full up. Don't worry about the stall horn. You'll notice you can actually see the elevators right there moving. There's full up and full down. Okay, and what that does, just like kind of like the aileron, except for they go in unison, which means both elevators, when bringing the yoke up, they both move together. And as air hits the back of the elevator surface, so as air comes across that surface, it'll force the tail down, causing the nose to rise. Okay, so as I pitch up on the control column, so I'm pulling towards myself on the control column, the elevators will go up. You'll notice the tail start to go down and the nose will rise. So that's how we pitch the nose up. Vice versa if I pitch down, which is much faster than going up. And that's a bit of a steep descent there, so don't ever do that, but just for showing and sim purposes, that's how that would look. So the elevators control the pitch. Alright, last thing is the vertical axis. So rotating along the vertical axis is rotating like this. So imagine there's a big pole and you're just kind of spinning it from the top, and you can rotate it. And that's controlled with the rudder at the back here. So this is our vertical stabilizer, and just as a little tab at the back here, see where it gets that cut indent? That's our rudder, and we can do full deflection of that, and you can see that there. So rudder to the right causes the aircraft to yaw to the right. Rudder to the left causes the aircraft to yaw to the left. Okay, so those are our 4 aircraft attitudes, our 3 axes, and our 3 movements as well. So attitudes were nose high, nose low, banked, and cruise. Then we have the axis with longitudinal, runs nose to tail, lateral wing to wing, wingtip. Vertical runs straight down and through. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed day 1 of your flight school here at Aviation Nation. We'll be doing many more of these. We got about 25 more to go all the way up. We might, as I said, skip a couple that are hard to kind of show in sim. I'll do my best maybe with Paint 3D, but things like VFR map reading and drawing your lines, making a route, I'll try to see how I can do that in Paint 3D, and if it works out, then I'll make a video on it. It's much easier in real life to show someone on the map though how to do that, especially because people who are watching probably don't have all the tools like an E6B and a proper aviation ruler and all those things. So I'll try my best to make that, but for the most part we'll try to cover everything. And for our next lesson we're going to be covering straight and level, so how to maintain straight and level. Alright guys, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. As I said, I am becoming a flight instructor as well in real life, so if anything I can make change to the videos, let me know in the comments, so I'll try to explain it better next time. Or real world, I'll try to explain it better. And yeah, so leave a comment down below. Thank you for watching.